So now we're at a turning point. So I have to backtrack a little bit and talk about the army that eventually destroyed the Taiping Rebellion. And it's an army that was created by a guy called Zheng Guofan. And if you have to understand modern Chinese history, there's nothing more important than to understand him and also the army that he created. It's called the Xiang army. Xiang is basically another name for Hunan. Who was Zheng? Zheng was a guy who did in the imperial exams a little bit better than Hong. So on this side I put Zheng. This is the Xiang army. He went all the way to the imperial. He became an official in Beijing, and like any other regimes in any other kind of political system, you need to find a big guy that you follow. And he followed a guy called Mu Zhang'e. Mu Zhang'e was a Manchurian official who was the favorite of the Daoguang emperor, and he really rose up by at his late 30s. He already became like a deputy head of different departments of the country, of the whole government. And then, so the Taiping Rebellion happened in 1850. It started in 1850, 51. And then that's also when Daoguang Emperor died, and then Xianfeng Emperor became emperor. He was then, Zheng was, then his mom then died. And like just Confucianism, just like any Confucianism, honoring your parents is very high. So when when your mother dies, you need to go back to your home, and it's called 守孝, which is to guard the honor. 孝 means honoring your parents, so guarding the honor of honoring your parents. So he was in Hunan. He went back to Hunan, which is exactly the same time as when the Taiping went rampaging through Hunan in 1852. And so when that happened, and then the Taiping basically completely demolished the original 8 banners and the green camp army, right? So what was the solution to it? The solution is then the Emperor Xianfeng told Zheng it's called 团练, which is create your own army to fight the Taiping. And he did. He created the army, and how he created was because he's a scholar. He's at that point in time he's one of the top Confucian scholars, and his personality is like Hunanese personality is basically toughness. One of his most famous quotes is that Hunanese people, if you hit me and break my tooth, I'll swallow the tooth and the blood. So you don't mess around with them, and he's also a scholar where he was like he's very self-reflective. As a Confucian scholar, he's really mad he was most mad at himself for looking at other women or flirting with other women. And it's a good thing is he writes a lot of diaries, and then you would see unless you're like a saint like Confucius, you're an animal. And today I'm an animal. Like I saw my friend chatting with 2 young girls sitting by his side, so he asked to switch seats, stuff like that. And so, but he's he's a very strict guy. You can think about it like he's just like unless you're Confucius, unless you're a saint, you're an animal. So he went there, and then so he created the army. What the interesting about the army is that he took scholars to be generals. You don't need to fight, but you need to know your Confucianism. You need to be smart. You need to know Confucianism. And then he would find the army. Unlike these green banners are basically like town people, he would actually go to the villages and get basically people, just like families together into one group. So that way, armies like that in general are highly effective because nobody would flee. Like for example, you and your brothers and all your cousins are in the same army unit. Where are you going to flee to? You go back to the village, it's like, where are your brothers? Where's your dad? Where are your cousins? So you don't leave. The second thing is, if half of your army unit gets killed, when you get back at your enemy, it's not really about an operation, like a military operation anymore. It was revenge. It was avenging your family's blood. And they were, and also because so the generals are all literate Confucian scholars, and all the army guys are illiterate people from the poorest families who don't know better, and you're like, just run towards there. I'm like, okay, there's run towards there, right?
And who are grouped together based on their family connection.
Family connection. So one unit. So and like same thing. If all your brothers and your cousins are running that way, you can't really run the other way. So that's how he built it. And also because what was highly offensive to him was the Taiping, especially because Hong did not pass any of the exams, were highly hostile to Confucianism. He actually went when they went through Hunan, they destroyed the college that he went to, Yuelu Shuyuan, the Yuelu college. And for that, Zheng would not have any of that because he was like, it's okay to kill, because from his perspective, okay to kill people or demolish property is another thing to destroy Confucianism. Because basically it's either you're Christian or you are Confucius, right? Like, or you're local, like traditional Chinese. So they destroyed all the Confucian texts. And so Zheng, when he created the army and when he said he's going to fight back at the Taiping, he wrote a very famous essay, and the main point is really, if they continue to play around like this, Chinese culture will be demolished. And the reason why he needed to write this is because Hong and him are both Han. The emperor is Manchurian. So this war, in some sense, is really the Hans helping the Manchurians to put down and not some other Hans. But for him, the perspective is not that. The perspective is they're guarding Confucianism. Even the Manchurian emperor follows Confucianism. So in most sense, in why Chinese culture is pretty much the only one that's continuous, from the pyramids down till now. Part of it's because the definition of Chinese has never been racial. It's really, if you follow Confucianism, then you're Chinese. Right? Because, otherwise the Tang emperors were actually Turkic. They have a lot of Turkish blood in them. Right? So, in this case, they started fighting, and actually they were very effective. Like, Zheng himself was horrible. He fought, he committed suicide 3 times for failed military attempts throughout the career from 1853 down to when the Taiping was put down in 1864. But then his generals were good. So his generals won a lot of wars. So this is always very interesting. The top guy never needs to do much, right, but he needs to select the good ones to do. And then another famous thing is when he kept on fighting, when it was him doing the fighting, he loses. This is a very famous thing where he wrote a report to the emperor and say, I'm sorry. Every single time I fight, I lose. And then one of the secretaries looked at it and was like, no. You say that, the emperor is going to execute you. How about this? Every single time I lose, I continue to fight. So this is a very famous, very play on words where in Chinese it's basically just switch the order of the words and it goes from, and you listen to the sound, right? Every single time I fight, I continue to lose. So every single time I lose, I continue to fight.
Power of positive thinking.
Power of positive thinking. But in the beginning, it's really tough for Zheng, because he wasn't an official per se. Like he wasn't the governor of Hunan province, right? Hunan province had a governor, Luo Bingzhang, who hated his guts for 2 reasons. In order to build this army, there was additional taxation from Zheng, which is basically a slap on the face for Luo Bingzhang. The emperor was kind of weary of Zheng, so he didn't really support Zheng that way. Like, he was just responsible to fight, but then he didn't really support him. So the emperor always have to balance and play around with the politics, right? And also Zheng, when he was asking for money, he asked money from like the top. It's easy to ask money from Li Ka-shing, right? So he asked the top guys, but the top guys are connected. So the top guys connected with the governor. So he got along really poorly with the local officials. And he also created his own court to find conspirators and executed them, even if they were proven innocent by the local authorities. But in any case, his army started, and actually in the beginning, apart from him, his generals won. And in 1854, they actually took back Wuchang. This is what is now Wuhan, here. And this is very important. Once you take this, the Taiping cannot go north from this side. You have to only go from this side, which it's difficult to do. And so when that happened, the emperor was going to make him the governor of Hubei, because that's in Hubei, right? Hunan, Hubei. Nan just means South Bay, it means north there, Hubei. And as soon as he told him, and he took it back, because someone said, this is a Han official. He went to his own hometown, he got a bunch of guys, and they beat the Taiping in Wuhan that the 8 banners and us Manchurians couldn't do. So be very careful with him. So as soon as he was given the governorship of Hubei, he said thank you, but and like he stayed humble and say, I'm not supposed to. The emperor took, oh, just kidding. Basically, no, you're not going to have it. So it's very sad for him, and he was given a lot of responsibility to fight the Taiping, but was never given any power, especially financial power. And because after the death of Yang, the Manchurians built the northern river, southern river camps again to fight. So this is, you can think of it as this is really the way that the Manchurian emperor did. So you've got the Taiping armies here fighting. So all the tough fighting is done by Zheng, the Han. And then as soon as the fighting does well, then the Manchurian army can go straight to Nanjing. So the top accomplishment that would still be in the Manchurians, but they would do the hard work. Right? So it was not an easy time for Zheng. Yep.
I missed this. For Hong, was any of his rebellion based on the fact that it was a Manchurian empire?
It's all about Manchuria. It's all about the Manchurians. Yeah. They're like, so the Manchurians are evil, so we have to kill them.
Right. Okay.
And
so it wasn't just the fact that they were in power; it was the fact that they were Manchurian.
They're Manchurian, yeah.
And he's Han.
Well, and it's easy. That's an easy, very easy. Yeah. And so he would call Zheng a traitor, like you're Han, you're fighting Han. But then Zheng is like, it's not about race, it's about belief.
Right. It's about
so there's this philosophy so that there's race, and the issues like it's not just military, it's race versus belief, which is very interesting because, especially if you think about China now, China, the most important thing now is everybody talks about China needs to influence the world with its soft power. What should it be? Well, it's China's belief system. So that's one. Well, this is one big discussion for both foreign Chinese people and foreigners looking into China. Right. And so the fighting begins. But then Li was a military genius. So in let's say the early times before 56 was Yang doing all the work. From 1856 to 1864 was mostly Li who did the work. Hong is still just slapping around, spanking his 2,000 wives, when and Li was doing all the work. And when Li did all the work, he basically demolished again the two camps. Again, military genius. The camps, they got their source of food and supplies from Hangzhou, here. So Li didn't fight the camp. He actually fought Hangzhou. He fought Hangzhou. Then they came down to rescue, and so he went back up and destroyed the camps. And so when that happened, when the camps were taken away, the original scheme of the emperor wouldn't work anymore. So Zheng was then given all the actual power. He was named Liangjiang Zhongdu, which is the above a governor. It's like super governor of 3 provinces, which is Jiangsu, Anhui, and Jiangxi. So he would then have taxation. But then obviously, the Qing Dynasty is very interesting. The emperors were all really hardworking because the whole system is completely, there's no system whatsoever. It's basically emperor and then a bunch of officials reporting to him. And they make it so that they can always play around. For example, Jiangxi had a governor. But then Jiangxi is part of the super governorship of Liangjiang. Liangjiang just means 2 rivers. When Jiangxi, the governor, wouldn't give money to Zheng, the emperor said, the Jiangxi governor wins. So, but you think of it from a structural perspective, the super governorship should be above, because it's also part of his jurisdiction. But then in Qing Dynasty, in order to maintain, because they're Manchurian and it's a minority population, in order to maintain control, they make sure the officials, Manchurian or otherwise, are in constant chaos. So the emperor can then play his game whenever he wants to. So this is why, also one of the reasons why the Qing Dynasty, the emperors were actually all really hardworking, because A, they have to, but B, the system it just fails from time to day, all the time. And so we have it now. It's 1860. It's Li against Zheng, and when it's Li against Zheng, let me talk a little bit about Li. Li was, again, like he was the guy who came a bit later. He said he had no idea, but then he followed, but then he was a very competent general. Yang really liked him, and so when all of these guys are gone, Hong made him the de facto commander, and then he then attacked Jiangsu and took Suzhou, and actually built his own king loyalty mansion, which is, you can still go. His backyard is now one of the main tourist spots called Zhuozhengyuan. You should probably go there. It's really nice, and he was actually a great administrator. He actually gave back private property, like land ownership, and also lower taxes, and he increased commerce. So during the 2 years that he ruled Jiangsu, Jiangsu is the main manufacturer of silk. Silk production was actually higher in wartime than previously during peacetime. So his management was amazing. And also because he banned opium, there's a huge inflow of silver because they took the main silk areas. And then actually when he lost Suzhou, Li Hongzhang, the guy who took over, went to his mansion, and then there was basically, he said the silver was stacked above the walls. And then he would carry he would have huge necklaces, bracelets, and everything. Like Hong actually had 2 pounds of gold around his neck. So it's like literally, it's like you are like a golden prisoner. Yeah.